Here's something that was not on my bingo card. The 2026 reboot of Screamer is part racing game, part anime, part fighting game, and honestly, it might be one of the most ambitious racing games in years. But is it actually good or just stylish chaos? Let's talk about it. So what is Screamer? Screamer is a reboot of a cult classic 90s arcade racer of the same name, brought back by Milestone, and it released March 26th of this year for the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC. This game makes it clear, like right off the bat, this is not trying to be Forza, Gran Turismo, or like any other game you can think of in this genre. This is a like story-driven anime combat racer. You know, it's set in a neon dystopian future, and you're not just racing, like you're not just doing a series of races. Every race kind of feels like a fight. There's a lot of other aspects to this racing game that make it more than just a regular racing game, and I think that's why it sticks out to me. When you start Screamer, you're honestly greeted by an epic opening that looks like the intro to an anime, and yes, complete with its own banger ass theme song. So like you can't get off to a better start than that. And like within the intro, it pretty much just shows off the characters, the cars that you're going to be seeing in the story mode and getting familiar with during your time with the game. And the game in general leans hard into these anime aesthetics all the time. Like I mentioned, the neon cyberpunk city, many of them fully voiced characters. You got the team rivalries within the story, and like story arcs upon story arcs that like honestly do feel very anime-ish. You know, and then like dramatic animated cutscenes of all kinds, and then you also have these stop motion cutscenes where they are still voice acted, but it's just pictures of the characters. These are all things that usual racing games, they don't even attempt to include in their games, let alone be a main focus in them. And like that alone makes Screamer stick out amongst its contemporaries in its genre. I will say that right now. That is what makes Screamer special.
We need cars. Behold, the Echo.
So I guess the main thing that makes Screamer special though is its gameplay. Let's talk about this. It's almost like an elephant in the room situation if you've been keeping up with the game from the outside and just being kind of curious about what this whole racing system is within it. So yeah, Screamer does not control like a normal racing game. This thing uses a twin stick control system. Basically the left stick will steer the car, the right stick drifts the car. Yeah, drifting is a separate stick, not a button in and of itself. And yeah, the decision, it's kind of divisive from what I see. Like based on a ton of reviews I've seen, people either really like this because it feels innovative and fresh, like you haven't really seen this kind of control scheme in any other racing game. But on the other hand, like others feel like it might be too unfamiliar, maybe a little uncomfortable, it's untraditional, and like that's not what they wanted. Maybe they wanted the anime racing game but with traditional racing controls, and that's not what you're gonna get here. So I kind of get it. My experience went like this. I went into the game really high on the idea of this new like twin stick drifting mechanic, because in my head it just kind of makes sense. Like I liken it to Skater XL or Session, like the two simulation skateboarding games. Like each stick in those games controls your skater's individual feet. So like, and in this case, each stick kind of controls half the car, right? So I don't know, it kind of just made sense in my head, in theory, on paper. Yeah, okay, I can kind of see this working. So I get into my first race when I start this game. I hit that first corner and I kind of feel what I thought I would feel. But the thing is, I quickly realized that this was gonna be much harder to grasp than I thought. And I don't know if it was my fault or like, you know, the game is just being a little unfair, but like an hour in, I was ready to walk away, honestly. Like stubbornly, I did blame the game. I did think it was the game's fault. And that an hour in, I feel like I should have nailed the mechanic by at that point, right? So yeah, kind of contemplating dipping out of it, and then something happened. It just kind of clicked because I stuck with it. I went back to it at one point, and then like suddenly, the harder corners that I was having trouble with, I was kind of understanding now, like when to do it, when to drift, when to hit the brake, when to accelerate. I just felt more in control of the vehicle. So really, practice does make perfect in this game. It's just you're gonna have to put in some time, probably more than an hour, because it becomes insanely satisfying to pull off like a really clean drift, and like that's kind of the point. Now I understand that the point of this game is to master as much as you can the car and kind of be one with the car and like master this twin stick drift system. And honestly, it feels really good when you do pull it off. But I'm gonna say like there is one other element that we're not talking about that I'm about to get into, and we got to touch on it to fully kind of make sense of this whole thing. So the combat racing part of this comes into play also, and it introduces the new Echo system. So yeah, Screamer introduces this system. It lets you use the energy that you save up for basically boosting, shielding, and then like attacking opponents. Races become more like tactical battles. You're constantly deciding like, do I boost now? Do I get aggressive now? Should I like kind of defend where I'm at, like all around me? Like it kind of adds like a strategy to a racing game that like most arcade racers don't even have. Like back in the day, Need for Speed, you had like the nitrous and stuff, right? Like that was fun. You usually waited for a straightaway, I guess, and you would hit it. And you kind of like gauged when to do that to give you the edge. But like in this one, it's kind of like you need to know when to stand down, back off, or like step in and get aggressive. It's very interesting. You got to think like Mario Kart with this, but like skill based instead of like random item based, I guess, you know? You're constantly trying to perfectly time your shifts. The shifting in this game is basically what boosts your energy meter up, and that's how you execute boosts in this game. And then even then, you need to time how long to press the button to get the most out of your boost, because that's what you're wasting part of your energy bar on. So you do want to get get the best boost possible. So you do have to also get good with that. So yeah, while you're racing, you're also like trying to tame these insane beasts on wheels. The cars look insane in this game. And you also need to manage the like strategy aspect of Screamer. And honestly, right there is where I see people falling off. I do see people getting frustrated with it, you know, with all these new mechanics and kind of being like, man, I just want to play something like normal. Like, give me Forza back. You know what I mean? Like, so I get it. But honestly, if you stick with it and put in the work, I promise that getting really good at this game gives you a really like rewarding feeling that you probably wouldn't get in any other racing game like this. I mean that. But I'm telling you now, it's a long road, and like to get good at this, and mastering this game to me honestly feels impossible. I just don't think you could do it unless you're just a maniac that's gonna live and breathe this game. But you know, an hour in, I still wasn't getting it perfectly, and like I just thought it was really hard to grasp. But I didn't walk away. I stuck with it, and now I'm like comparable with the game. I think I'm all right. You know. When it comes to all the content in the game, like the modes and stuff, I'd say you have like a pretty good amount. You obviously have the tournament, which is basically the story campaign of the game. You have arcade modes, split screen multiplayer, online racing, custom races, adjustable AI. The game, you could adjust the game speed. You got the gallery to check out artwork and music from the game that you unlock. You got the workshop that lets you customize the cars. There's quite a bit of stuff here, and man, I gotta say, multiplayer on both online and local multiplayer, that's great, man. Like I remember there was a time where multiplayer or couch co-op just became like almost extinct. Like only Nintendo had some of that going on, but like yeah, for the most part, like it was all online all the time, and I'm just really glad that we're living at a time where there's like a resurgence of couch co-op, and I'm glad to see it here because I do think every racing game should have a couch co-op mode. Let's be honest. To talk a bit about the story mode without spoiling anything, just kind of the key aspects, I guess, of it. So it is like an 80s, 90s kind of anime aesthetic, like I mentioned, and it involves like teams of drivers that are entering this huge tournament put on by the mysterious benefactor Mr. A, voiced by Troy Baker. And the winner gets like $100 billion, which is an insane amount of money. But yeah, these teams of drivers are like, they make up a lot of interesting people. Like you got a group of pop stars, you got some astronauts, you got like the mob, you got the military. Yeah, I think it's an interesting narrative. There is like themes of revenge in this. There's themes of just calculated bitterness towards each other. It's actually kind of insane, and it is pretty much an anime. It's playing itself out like an anime. And I think that it has a lot of interesting ideas too. Like characters are speaking all kinds of languages, but they have technology implanted in them that basically like they can all understand each other despite the native tongue that they have. I thought that was actually pretty interesting. And it was just an easy way to kind of represent all kinds of cultures, which I thought that was pretty cool, honestly. And as a unique kind of touch to this game, you don't really like, you kind of like through the story mode, you get to know the characters and the teams and what cars they drive. But even in like the other modes, in the arcade modes, the free race modes, like you're not necessarily picking cars to drive, you're picking the characters, and each character has a car. I kind of like that. Like it's just an extension of the character's personality. Like for example, the Anaconda Corp, like they're kind of like the mafiosi corpo group in the game. They drive like these sleek kind of like Mercedes looking vehicles that kind of just fit them, you know what I mean? And I feel like every team has that going for them. So it's a really unique thing that like adds to the personality of the game overall. Like it's just larger than life characters in this larger than life tournament with these larger than life vehicles. Like again, making Screamer stick out amongst the crowd. I honestly believe that. The kind of missions you get into up in story mode, it's not always just, get first place in the race. Sometimes it's finish top 3. Sometimes it's, strike 3 enemy cars off the track or something before you cross the finish line and still win the race somehow. Those I always found difficult. Finish top 3, whatever. Like it's got its own kind of varied goals within each race. And it all kind of depends on what the current story situation is. Because you're not just playing as one character in the story. You're playing as kind of all of them. It just depends where the story's taking place. So if I could like liken it to Dragon Ball Z, I guess. Like yes, Goku is the face of Dragon Ball. Typically, like if it's Goku versus Frieza, you'll be playing as Goku. But let's just say, in another era when Vegeta is fighting Android 18, you're going to be playing as Vegeta. It's that. It's whatever the story calls for. It's whoever needs to step up and be controlled by the player to move the story forward. That's how it works. And yeah, I found it endearing, man. I think you're just kind of playing out an anime. That is the gist of it with the story mode. I guess let's just quickly talk about some downsides that I maybe have with it. I don't think this is a perfect game. This is an ambitious idea to me, and there's only room for improvement as we go on if we get sequels and stuff, which I hope we do. But I do think like the handling with the twin stick mechanic and stuff like that, I think it's pretty tough. I think it's very difficult to grasp. I think on paper it's a good idea. Maybe execution wise it just needed more time to cook. I don't know. I do find it very difficult. I found the game difficult. I had to bump it down a difficulty at one point because I just couldn't beat the race I was doing. Yeah, it just I don't know how to explain it. It just feels like the drifting sometimes is imprecise, and it's hard to tell if that's like on you or the game, or like, I don't know. It's a little disorienting. It's hard. I think it's just tough. And in the beginning I was a complete disaster, and now when I played, I think I'm competent. Like I'm good enough to finish the race or whatever, but like there are some things about it that kind of scream no pun intended, but they do scream like they are good ideas that just need more time to cook in the oven, so to speak. It's you gotta learn these systems. You gotta learn all kinds of systems. You gotta learn how to boost. You gotta learn when and where to drift. You gotta learn where you should be when you drift. And you can make the argument that other racing games that feature drifting is the same thing. You're right. For example, I played Need for Speed Heat this year and I thought it was great, but the drifting was really easy in that game. And then you drift in this game and it's like, Jesus, this is just next level difficult, you know? And it's obviously by design because it's one of the main gimmicks of the game. And like I said before, once I got better at it, it felt really rewarding to pull off nice drifts on those tight corners. But again, I just think it might test your patience, you know? And the cutscenes in the beginning of the game, there are a lot of them. Like I said, this is an anime. I've said it many times. It might test your patience if you're just looking to get into the racing. That's another thing. Nothing is really unlocked in the beginning of the game. The tournament mode is what kind of is the main way to unlock everything. So you kind of have to get into that. And to me, it is the main draw of the game is doing the story mode. But again, lots of dialogue, and when it's cutscenes, it's fine. But there is a ton of scenes where it's just voice acting and pictures on the screen, and it's up to you whether or not you want to skip all that or not. But yeah, I can see people running out of patience with a couple of things that this game does. But again, I think it's just it's a really good idea. It's a game full of good ideas, and I really hope there is a sequel for it to maybe fully blossom into what it can be. Because honestly, Screamer is one of the most unique racing games I've ever seen. Like, its aesthetics, its mechanics, its look, its music, the way it delivers everything. Like, I think it's fantastic in that aspect. I just wish it wasn't so hard. I wish it didn't make me feel like I'm the incompetent one. You know, I wish it made me feel more in control of the car and, you know, let me catch a break. Cut me some slack. That's constantly what I feel with this game. It's like, please let up. I'm just trying to learn. I'm trying to love you. Let me love you. God damn it. But yeah. So if I had to give Screamer a score, honestly, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I think it's a good game. I think if you give it your time to learn its mechanics and all that, I feel like you could really walk away from this with a good experience like I did. But there is something to be said about its flaws, and I really hope that a sequel to this game comes to fruition because what they have here I think is really good. So yeah, I'll give it a 7 out of 10.